Hello, and welcome to this Sonodyne Soundwaves podcast on navigation. This is the third in our series, and we are here at Underwater Intervention today. I'm Aidan Vaughan, Marine Robotics Business Development Manager. I'm here with Peter Schubert, who is the Engineering Director for Poseidon Robotics. Peter, thank you for taking part in this today. Can you tell us a little about yourself and the company Poseidon Robotics?
Certainly. Thank you for having us. So my wife and I founded the company back in 2018 with the idea that what we really wanted to do was take lessons from work-class ROVs in that world, which has been built up for decades at this point, and we wanted to condense that, bring it to the world of inspection-class ROVs. So our motto is big performance from small ROVs. We got started with this based on my background. I'd worked as an engineer at Schilling Robotics, and then I'd worked as an ROV pilot, North Sea oil and gas for years. And we just thought one day, why not try to take some of those lessons, put them into here. So we have a fully vectored design. We have 8 thrusters. We can have full pitch and roll control. We have all the auto functions that anyone would expect in a work-class vehicle. And with that new stability, we were just waiting for somebody to come out with small enough kit that we could actually do some serious surveys. Something that always stuck with me is working in the North Sea. Most of what you're doing in surveying, you don't actually need the 5 or 6 ton vehicle for it. You don't even need a ton. You're really just down there to look at something, to take a bit of sonar, but you always needed a large DVL, an enormous INS, and a multi-beam that weighs 100 kilos. But suddenly with these components shrinking, it kind of became a viable option in the market. So that's what we did.
Great. And that's kind of a perfect segue into what we wanted to talk about today. So this is all about our navigation products here at Sonodyne. And your big performance from small ROVs kind of motto there is really perfectly aligned with the SPRINT-Nav Mini. Peter, tell us how a SPRINT-Nav Mini can support your operations. Obviously, trying to understand here what it is your customers are doing with the ROVs, what you're trying to do with the ROVs, and how the accurate navigation is going to support you.
Of course. So there's a number of customers and a number of things they do with them, but specific to the SPRINT-Nav Mini and these smaller work-class vehicles is multi-beam bathymetry. You have to take a multi-beam, fly it over a surface, whether we're looking at pipelines, electrical cables for wind farms. You have to get the multi-beam a little lower. Often the water depths are 1,000 meters, 500 meters, and someone wants centimeter resolution. You can't do that without getting the multi-beam close, but in addition, can't do that without having an INS in there. Yeah, it's no good to have the multi-beam if you don't know where it is. There's some amazing small, USBL systems now, but that'll only get you so close. And so we need a fiber optic gyro. We need to be able to get very, very clean data for the end customer there.
Great. So yeah, SPRINT-Nav Mini fits the bill really well there, of course. If you're not using a SPRINT-Nav Mini on these vehicles for navigation, what is it you're typically doing? Is it just USBL aiding, or is there other sensors as well that you use?
Well, unfortunately, there's not a lot else we can do. So we rely really heavily on the Ranger USBL system. The Nano's perfect for pretty much any of the small vehicles, but you're not going to be able to correct the data to the point that you need to make an accurate model. And so without that, we're just running straight USBL. There's not really a good DVL in the market, and without the INS and DVL, you sort of need both of them. You can't have one or the other. So that's where we're just really pleased to see the SPRINT-Nav Mini available now.
Excellent. And so really it's all about that georeference data for you, basically.
Correct.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so now we've got a couple of payloads that might go on a small ROV like this. We've got the Voyage stereo camera, and we've got a Norbit multi-beam in front of us. And Peter, these are quite typical kind of payloads for this type of vehicle?
They are. To be honest, they're typical for work-class vehicles. We've only really just got them small enough to go onto these. And it's amazing the work not only Sonodyne, but Norbit, Voyage, many other manufacturers have really shrunk these down. Previously, no one had any real mind for the size or the weight, as it didn't matter. You had a 5-ton vehicle with an enormous skid. It could be as large as you wanted or needed. But now that they've miniaturized them so much, we can actually put them on here. And so we, in fact, have a vehicle that can have either a stereo camera, or it can have a TSS pipe tracker, a wing head, and always has, of course, the USBL and the SPRINT-Nav Mini in the middle there.
Fantastic. And that, yeah, so we're really giving you that accurate position, that accurate navigation to ensure that all of the data that you're gathering with these payloads is really, really strong.
Exactly. And in fact, was just on a job with a customer, very well known, and their end client could not distinguish the data from their work class vehicle that had done the survey the year before. So SPRINT-Nav Mini with a Norbit winghead sonar, they're not actually able to tell what system that came from. As far as they're concerned, it's a 5-ton vehicle and $20 million of kit on it.
Wow. And that opens up masses of possibilities for people, of course, because we're talking about a vehicle of this size. I mean, we're stood next to it here. We actually just carried this over just before we started recording. We're talking about 70 kilos of vehicle here.
Approximately, it'll get close to 100 kilos with all the gear on it and ballasted for fresh water. But it's certainly a step down from the tons and tons of a work class vehicle. But one thing I just wanted to segue into with this is it's not so much the size of the vehicle or even the cost of the vehicle, hundreds of thousands versus millions. It's the size and expense of the vessel and the personnel and the fuel and the insurance on that vessel. To have 30 people on board a 200-foot long vessel with a 12-ton WARS and everything that goes into that, it's tens of thousands per day minimum just to cover your cost. We have successfully operated this with the multi-beam, the SPRINT-Nav Mini, from a 40-foot boat.
Exactly. Yeah, there really is a lot of opportunity now to deploy these from smaller systems. So that's excellent. Yeah, ultimately what we're seeing then is lowering the cost of operations to the customer, which is absolutely fantastic, but still really, really high grade data, which exactly what we were kind of aiming for from a SPRINT-Nav Mini in the first place.
Yeah, and I think it's hit the mark very well. And what's next for us really is getting into larger vehicles. There's still a very big gap. There's not many vehicles between a large, fully effective work class with this sort of kit on it and coming down to this. There are only a few things in between, and many of them still have a big limitation. They have only a couple of vertical thrusters, sometimes only a single vert. And while that works just fine in a swimming pool, you get into the actual ocean, you get to the North Sea and you're deploying off a boat in 3 meters, and that tether just pulls the vehicle and you can't help but just rock the image. And the INS can correct for it, but only so well. So the more stable platform we have, the better data we can get, the happier the clients are.
So thank you so much for spending a bit of time with us this morning. It's great speaking to you. It's great to understand the capabilities of these small ROVs with these great pieces of equipment on them for gathering data. To our audience, thank you for taking time to watch us today. Do check out Poseidon Robotics website. As I say, that's a great website where you can go and find out a little bit more about these kind of small vehicles giving big capability. Also, one of the things that I'd like to point out is Peter's really good on LinkedIn in terms of writing these small sort of mini blog pieces all about ROVs. I've been following those for a little while now, really interesting. If you like this video, we've got 2 other podcasts on navigation already out there. Do like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one. Thank you.